Good morning. It's Thursday, December 19th, and it's another edition of the Zogby Report, real and unscripted. Jeremy and I take a look at an issue, and we just riff on it based on, obviously, a lifetime of researching and observing. How you doing, Jer?
Hey, Dan, I'm doing well. I'm looking to 2025, and I'm interested in how you're going to do our closing topic for
Yeah,
2024.
yeah. This will be it, and then we'll take a look at the Biden legacy closer to the inauguration, and then the outlook for Donald Trump, closer to the inauguration. But yeah, 2025, what can we look ahead to? So where we stand right now, uh, President has won with just under 50% of the vote, a 1.4 percentage point lead, but he won hugely in the electoral college. He has a mandate. He also has a mandate by virtue of picking up seats in the United States Senate, 53 to 47, and holding on to the House with a very narrow 5-point lead, the or 5-seat lead. That's the good news for Donald Trump. And the good news also is that it appears that he's much more prepared and has an agenda going into this term than he did back in 2017. And there does appear as if there is a public will for him to go forward with his agenda. Right now, his early job approval ratings are 53% to 55%. We haven't really seen presidential job approval ratings like that in a very long time. So, in some respects, he's got the wind at his sails, and he's moving along. He has, to a large degree anyway, the acquiescence of Congress and the Republican Party mechanism. And so, in addition to the leadership of both houses of Congress, it does appear as if he's in full control of the Republican Party. And he catches a Democratic Party really in disarray, really uncertain about its present and its future, about where it stands. It lost ground, not only fewer votes, but fewer votes on behalf or from the key constituencies that it's counted on for decades. And so, with that said, it should be all systems go for Donald Trump. However, there is such a thing as reality. And this is what he meets head on, possibly. Number one, is there a slowing economy? We did see, in fact, that the Feds just yesterday agreed to reduce interest rates by another 0.25%, try to pick up the economy a little bit. Unemployment climbing up a bit. A really shaky stock market at the end of the year, whether that continues even today or not. But the Dow and the NASDAQ and others have lost substantially at the end of the year. Does that portend to a lack of confidence among investors, slowing down of the economy? We don't know. And then lastly, while I think that there is broadly a consensus about cutting and slashing, for that matter, the federal government, $34 trillion debt, and a vow not only to cut substantially the federal budget, but two giants really in the public sphere, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, despite what anybody thinks of them. They are giants and very smart. Have a relative free hand, it appears, to move forward with that. But we're talking headwinds, and the headwinds are Congress and voters. When you're talking about cutting and slashing programs, that means programs that I support and that you support and that my aunt needs and my grandchild deserves and my state depends on and my community employs. And it means that fellow Republicans who are in the majority of both houses start to push back a bit and say, no, not this one, and don't cut that one, and don't hurt this agency. And at the same time, you have, and I'm going to end right here, the so-called Golden Triangle, which includes longtime staff aides of Congress, agency department heads, and lobbyists, all congealing together like an earthquake-proof building to ensure, by whatever means necessary, that their agencies get funded and that their funding is the kind of money that can be spread around to continue patronage in their base. So today looking good for Donald Trump. I don't know about tomorrow.
Yeah, I would say that we're pretty much in line. I'll just take a different perspective. You're looking at the politics domestically, and I think a good analogy is when somebody moves into a new home or into a new residence, and this is fitting because Donald Trump is going back to the White House, but there's a tendency when moving into a new residence or settling into a new home to have a vision of what you would like to do to the home, but the residence has its own internal structure and it has something else in mind for what needs to be done. And that analogy is both on the domestic front, which you covered, as well as on the global front. And so while Trump has his agenda that he's laid out pretty clearly and simply, the reality is the dam from, and I don't want to get into the merit of who started it all, but let's be honest that the leftover baggage of the Biden presidency, especially on the international front, is coming to a head. It looks like in 2025, potentially in a full-blown international conflict or national security crisis. We can kind of see these things manifesting in the news almost daily. And so when Donald Trump assumes the White House, his initial plan may become sidelined because of bigger problems. And you alluded to the global economy, the domestic economy, and I'm alluding to Russia and Ukraine. Of course, there's the Middle East, what happened in Syria. Of course, there's mysterious drones and all of that crazy stuff. And a whole slew of other things. And actually, this was the case for the Trump presidency the last time. And it looks like a lot of things could blow up on his watch, left over from previous administrations, including the Biden administration and the Obama administration, which set into motion the slow but sure destruction of Syria.
So, I want to pick up on that important point, because a president will get 100 days of a honeymoon. And I think the Democrats, because both disarray and because they, I think, realize that it's counterproductive to come out of the chute attacking and negating everything that Trump stands for. It didn't work last time. Impeachment didn't work. So they're laying low. But with that said, president gets 100 days. And in that 100 days, he gets to blame the previous administration. But on that 101st day, it's ownership, and it's his. Now, example, Donald Trump negotiated with the Taliban that U.S. troops would be removed, left office, and Joe Biden removed those troops, and it was a terrible exit strategy. American people wanted our troops out of Afghanistan, but the execution was terrible. But it was done in June, well past Biden's 100 days, and he never recovered from that because he owned it. And that's the thing with Donald Trump. Now, we have seen that tradition doesn't always play out, that the old rules of the game don't necessarily work with Donald Trump in so many ways. But he's got to be he has to ensure that he gets done what he's got to get done in those first 100 days, or all those problems are his. You don't get to blame the Biden or Obama administration anymore.
No. The only thing I would say to that is the Democratic Party looks like it's in retreat right now. Mm-hmm. Well, on that 101st day, if they, and whatever you want to call them, the legacy media, swarm in on the attack, that does work in the favor of the Trump loyalists, who are both Republican and independent voters. And so Trump, for 8 years now, has had a target on his back, and that has been a major appeal. And so you see where I'm going with this. That's something that could also work in his favor if the attack is let's say, too momentous and too much.
So there's another factor at play here, and that is that the president-elect has selected 5 Republican members of the House, all from, what appear to be safe districts for his cabinet. Elise Stefanik and Mike Walz, for example, the 2 most prominent. Now, these are 5 Republicans who look to be from safe seats, but they're going to be special elections. The first is going to be January 28th, I believe, but in the first quarter, we're going to have special elections. And of course, we're going to have to watch those pretty closely to see, if Republicans win those seats. If they do, they really still hold on to the barest of majorities. If they lose any one of those seats, or one of those seats is a closer victory than expected, that's something that the Trump White House, has not banked on. So I choose to think that Donald Trump is hot right now, and that he does have the wind at his sails. However, once you start the specifics of slashing the federal budget, I think he faces enormous challenges and problems, even though conceptually that is clearly what the American people want. Devil's in the details.
Well, it all depends on what he intends to do with that slashing, right? Mm-hmm. That's going to be a major factor.
Well, I think that's a look ahead. I mean, we don't predict the future. We can only analyze the now, take a look at where we think, the projectile is. But that's how we see it. And we're looking forward to a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and Happy New Year. And then we'll be back after the first of the year talking about the Biden legacy and a whole lot more about Trump and the inauguration. Good week.
Yeah, I look forward to that. Happy New Year, Merry Christmas.